Hello children, welcome back to Rini ma'am's class. Today we are going to proceed with the lesson How I Taught My Grandmother to Read. I hope from the first video you have understood about the story. So we are going to proceed with the same story, the other half of the story. Right? Okay, let's start. Once I went for a wedding with my cousins to the neighboring village. In those days, a wedding was a great event. We children enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. We would eat and play endlessly, savoring the freedom because all the elders were busy. I went for a couple of days but ended up staying there for a week. Now, the small girl, she said that she went with her cousins to the neighboring village for a wedding. So wedding is very interesting, isn't it? We love to eat, we love to play, we love to share our enjoyment with our friends, relatives, cousins, etc. Right? So she says that she enjoyed the freedom and all the merriment during the wedding time. So she enjoyed the freedom even because all the elders were busy, nobody there to stop them from anything. And so she enjoyed so much that where she went for a couple of days, she ended up staying there for a week. She stayed there for a week. When I came back to my village, I saw my grandmother in tears. I was surprised. What I had never seen her cry, even in the most difficult situations. What had happened? I was worried. She says that when she returned, she saw her grandmother in tears. Never she had ever seen her old grandmother in tears or unhappy in any of the difficult situation. But what had happened? What is the thing which is worrying her? So this girl was very much worried. Avva, is everything all right? Are you okay? I used to call her Avva, which means mother in the Kannada spoken in North Karnataka. She nodded but did not reply. Avva moved her head but no response from her mouth. I did not understand and forget about it. As she is a small child, she did not understand what she wanted to say, and in the middle of the day, she forgot everything about her sadness, her tears. In the night, after dinner, we were sleeping in the open terrace of the house. We are talking of that time where there was no cooler, no AC. People used to sleep in the open terrace during the summer time. It was a summer night and there was a full moon. Avva came and sat next to me. Her affectionate hands touched my forehead. I realized she wanted to speak. I asked her, "What is the matter?" Now Avva, at the night time when they both of them went to open terrace to sleep, Avva came to her and touched her with lot of affection and love. She touched her forehead, the small child's forehead, and this girl, she understood that Avva wanted to say me something, and she asked, "What is the matter?" Then Avva started to speak. When I was a young girl, I lost my mother. There was nobody to look after and guide me. My father was a busy man and got married again. In those days, people never considered education essential for girls, so I never went to school. Now, Avva is saying about her childhood days. She is narrating all the things to her granddaughter, that as she was a small child at that time, she lost her mother. And at that time, nobody was there to look after Avva. Avva's father was a busy man and so he got married again. In those days, people never considered education to be important and essential for girls. So Avva never went to school. I got married very young and had children. I became very busy. Later, I had grandchildren and always felt so much happiness in cooking and feeding all of you. At times, I used to regret not going to school. So I made sure that my children and grandchildren studied well. Now Avva is narrating her childhood days to her granddaughter. She says that during that time she got married very early and had children, and so she became very busy with her household work. After that, she had children and lot of cooking, feeding, and she enjoyed that and she was happy with that. But sometimes she even regret of not going to school. Avva, she thought that as I could not let my children and grandchildren study well. Now the small girl is surprised. I could not understand why my 62-year-old grandmother was telling me, a 12-year-old, the story of her life in the middle of the night. But I knew I loved her immensely, and there had to be some reason why she was talking to me. I looked at her face. It was unhappy, and her eyes were filled with tears. She was a good-looking lady who was usually always smiling. Even today, I cannot forget the worried expression on her face. I leaned forward and held her hand. Now this small girl, she wondered why in the middle of the night my Avva is telling all this to me. But as this small girl, she loved her to the fullest. She thought that there might be some reason why Avva is sharing all this with me. She even remembered the day when she came from the wedding, how sad Avva was. So this little girl leaned forward, bent forward to her and held Avva's hand. Now the small girl started counseling her. Avva, don't cry. What is the matter? Can I help you in any way? Yes, I need your help, was the quick response from Avva. You know, when you were away, Karmavira came as usual. I opened the magazine, I saw the picture that accompanies the story of Kashi Yatre, and I could not understand anything that was written. Now she tells that how sad was that when the magazine came and she could not read and understand what is written over there in the story, as she was very much passionate to go through the story and know what is there. Many times I rubbed my hands over the pages, wishing they could understand what was written. But I knew it was not possible. If only I was educated enough. I waited eagerly for you to return. Now Avva says that she wanted to read, but as she was not educated, it was not possible for her to read. She rubbed the pages to just making her to understand something if she could understand what was written in that, but it was not possible. She said that she waited for her eagerly when she is going to return, when the small girl is going to return and read this for me. I even thought of going to the village and asking you to read for me. I could have asked somebody in this village, but I was too embarrassed to do so. I felt so very dependent and helpless. Now she says that she realized that if only I was educated, I would have read this. So she says that I even thought of going to the village to meet you and make you read this magazine to me, the story to me. But even I thought that from the village I would ask somebody to read, but I felt very awkward. I was embarrassed. I felt so very dependent and helpless because I was not able to read the story, which she wanted to go through the story till the end. We are well off, but what use is money when I cannot be independent? She said that instead of having so much money, instead of being a well off, having good home, house, food, everything, still I am dependent. I want to be independent. Now this girl says, I did not know what to answer. Avva still continued. I have decided I want to learn the Kannada alphabets from tomorrow onwards. Now this determination of Avva continued. She wanted to learn. She wanted to learn the alphabets. I will work very hard. I will keep Saraswati Puja Day during Dashera as the deadline. That day I should be able to read a novel on my own. I want to be independent. Now she says that Avva says that I want to learn. I will be working very hard. I will keep a deadline that during the day of Dashera she wanted to keep Saraswati Puja, means she wanted to have the target of Dashera to able to read and write. That day I should be able to read a novel on my own. I want to be independent. That was her determination. She wanted to learn. I saw the determination on her face. I saw how much passionate, how much determined, how much firm was she. Yet I laughed at her. Avva, at this age of 62, you want to learn alphabets? All your hair are grey, your hands are wrinkled, you wear spectacles, and you work so much in the kitchen. Childishly, I made fun of the old lady, but she just smiled. Now this small girl, she said that you are doing such a lot of work in the kitchen, you have grown so old with spectacles, grey hair, how are you going to learn now? But Avva was determined. She just smiled. For a good cause, if you are determined, you can overcome any obstacle, was her answer. She said that she is so much determined that she is going to overcome any obstacle, any hindrances, any stoppage which is going to come in front of her. I will work harder than anybody, but I will do it. For learning, there is no age bar. She said that learning doesn't have any age bar. You can learn whenever you want. You should have the passion and determination within you to learn something. You can learn from a small child, you can learn at any age. It doesn't matter. The next day onwards, I started my tuition. Avva was a wonderful student. The amount of homework she did was amazing. She would read, repeat, write, and recite. Now this girl, small girl, she says that she started taking up Avva's tuition, and Avva was a wonderful child, wonderful student in front of her, and her homework and everything was up to date, and she did it with her whole heart. She would read, repeat, write, and recite even. I was her only teacher, and she was my first student. Little did I know then that one day I would become a teacher in computer science and teach hundreds of students. Now this little girl, she says that as I was the first teacher of her and she is my first student, so we gel up very well and the things went on very smoothly. And later on, this girl, this teacher, she started teaching computer science to hundreds and hundreds of students. Then this goes on of the teaching procedure, and Avva's learning continued. The Dashera festival came as usual. Secretly, I bought Kashi Yatre, which had been published as a novel by that time. Now, as the deadline, Dashera festival came, so this girl, she bought Kashi Yatre, which was just coming in magazine, the story. Now it has been published as a novel. My grandmother called me to the puja place and made me sit down on a stool. She gave me a gift of a frock material. Now grandmother, she called me and made me sit on a stool and gifted me a frock. Then she did something unusual, something different, something strange she did. She bent down and touched my feet. I was surprised and taken aback. She says that, she says that, Avva, she bent down and touched my feet. Whom do we touch? We touch our elders, right? Elders never touch the feet of youngsters. We have always touched the feet of God, elders, and teachers. We consider that as a mark of respect. It is a great tradition. But today the reverse had happened. It was not correct. Now, this girl was very much surprised to see Avva touching her feet. She thought that the touching the feet of elders was a tradition to get all the blessings. But what is this? This is not correct. Why this elder Avva is touching my feet? She said, I am touching the feet of a teacher, not my granddaughter. A teacher who taught me so well, with so much of affection that I can read any novel confidently in such a short period. Now I am independent. It is my duty to respect a teacher. Is it not written in our scriptures that a teacher should be respected, irrespective of the gender and age? Now Avva's answer. She says that I am touching the feet of a teacher. You are my teacher. First, you are my teacher, then you are my granddaughter. And you have taught me so well with such a lot of affection. I have to pay respect to you. You have made my life. You have made me independent. I did return namaskar to her by touching her feet and gave my gift to my first student. She opened it and read immediately the title Kashi Yatre by Triveni and the publisher's name. I knew then that my student had passed with flying colors. Now after this, the small girl, she showed her gesture by touching her Avva's feet and giving her a gift which she opened, and immediately she read the title and the publisher's name. Then this girl, she knew that her student had passed with flying colors. So from this story, this message we can get is that education is very important in our life. It makes us very much independent, and you can learn in any age. Learning doesn't have any age bar, and you can learn from anybody, whether he or she is small or old or young. You can learn from anybody. So this lesson is completed here. I hope you have understood the whole story. Now comes the homework. Find meanings of the following words from dictionary and also frame sentences with these words. There are 7 words. Find out the meaning and you have to frame sentences even with these words. Thank you, children. Thank you for everything, whatever you do. God bless you all. Take care. Be safe.